Goenka Group is a diversified conglomerate operating in sectors like power and natural resources, carbon black, IT, education, retail, FMCG, media, entertainment, infrastructure and sports. It has 45,000 employees and more than 5 lakh shareholders. Group assets have grown to 48,500 crore rupees. RP Sanjeev Goenka Group is a diversified conglomerate operating in sectors like power and natural resources, carbon black, IT, education, retail, FMCG, media, entertainment, infrastructure and sports. It has 45,000 employees and more than 5 lakh shareholders. Group assets have grown to 48,500 crore rupees. RP Sanjeev Goenka Group is a diversified conglomerate operating in sectors like power and natural resources, carbon black, IT, education, retail, FMCG, media, entertainment, infrastructure and sports. It has 45,000 employees and more than 5 lakh shareholders. Group assets have grown to 48,500 crore rupees.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the investor conference of RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. Given the continuing pandemic situation, the conference will be conducted virtually, keeping your safety in mind. I would like to invite Mr. P.L. Chandak, Executive Director, Investor Relations, to kindly say a few words.
Good morning, friends. I welcome you to this RP Sanjeev Goenka virtual conference over 2 days. Today we have Dr. Goenka, who will speak on all the companies, including question answer. And then we have 3 sessions on CSE, Philips Carbon and Saregama. And tomorrow we have First Source, Spencer Retail and FMCG business of RPSG. And there will be separate session with Shashwat Goenka on value creation through sustaining and growth. We have taken a lot of initiatives over the last couple of years. And I'm sure all of you must have benefited on account of things which have improved in all the companies. I now invite Dr. Goenka to speak. And just for your information, we have about 800 plus registrations. And people will come in different sessions depending on their interest. Over to Dr. Goenka.
Thank you, Mr. Chandak, and good morning, everyone. And let me just say that it's a very special privilege to be hosting all of you. All of you are deeply valued by us, and your presence means a lot. A few years ago, we embarked upon a journey of transformation and reinvention that was based on building efficiencies, being the best in class in terms of processes, costs, controls, and thereby earning the right to grow. That was the first part of the journey. And we now come to the end of the first part of that journey, where the efficiencies, processes, technologies, costs are all giving us the confidence and giving us the competitive edge to scale. Now begins the second phase of reinvention. The second phase, which is based on research, on value addition, on building products for the future, on rewarding the shareholders, on being conscious of the environment. This is a fun phase, this is a challenging phase. But it's a phase which is giving us great satisfaction. A few examples. In Saregama, we came out with Caravan, which was probably in terms of technology, one of the finest products in the music space. It's something which competition across the world has tried to replicate and so far not succeeded. In PCBA, we have started the transition and transited very successfully from being a commodity company or a company in the commodity play to a company in the chemical space, in the value-added space, in the specialty space. The journey has begun. It's yielding good dividends. And it is something that we intend doing and progressing far more than we have done so far. In the power business, we have the highest penetration, the highest digital penetration for any utility in the country. Over the next couple of years, all our vehicles would be electric. At Firstsource, when we bought into the company, it was a company that focused on revenues with scant respect on bottom lines. Over the last few years, we have grown our revenues, but we have added revenues which are bottom line accretive. We did not spend in the past on SG&A. We are now spending significantly on SG&A. And now, with the new team in place, with the new management in place, we are moving to contracts which give us significant bottom lines. So not only are we growing our top line significantly, not only are we growing inorganically in addition to growing organically, the sales mix is shifting very rapidly, where digital, FGT, tech is becoming a significant portion of our revenues, of our wins. In the last quarter, 17% of our total wins were from digital, compared to 4 or 5 quarters ago where it was 0. And the idea is to take this percent, this proportion, to close to 50%. The mortgages business, in terms of ISGN, which we acquired, has grown significantly. And over the last 12 months, the 2 acquisitions that we made, Patient Matters and Stonehill. Patient Matters is doing well. Stonehill is in the process of being absorbed. Both of them are bottom line accretive. There are many more instances, and I can get into very detailed details. But the idea is not to bore you with too much of the details, but to give you a sense of what we are doing. We have deleveraged across companies. And I'm very happy to say at a group level, our debt equity is at 1.1:1. Now, almost all our companies, with the exception of Power, have virtually no long-term debt. Power being capital intensive, we have debt. But there also the debt equity is an extraordinarily healthy situation. I do not believe in growing by debt. So as a conscious policy, we have deleveraged. We have focused towards leading the industries in which we operate. So in Power, you will see a very strong focus on distribution. We have said no capacity addition in the fossil fuel space. We are growing in distribution because that's where we believe the value is. On a long-term basis, if you control the consumer, you will not be confined to only selling power to the consumer. That becomes a pipeline, and you could use that pipeline to sell any and every product to that consumer. Today, we have 4.3 million consumers in 7 cities. The Electricity Act, the new Electricity Act proposes delicensing. And a very strong action is in play on the defense side. How do we protect our turf? And on the attack side, how do we identify new circles and get more and more customers? It's an exciting project. It's a challenging project, but it's something that we believe we are on top of. Saregama is the #1 viewed label on YouTube now. We've got a strong pipeline of new Hindi film music. All the big labels, Dharma, that's Karan Johar, Sanjay Leela Bhansali, they're all with us after a gap of maybe 15, 20, 25, 30 years. When we took over Nature's Basket, there were a lot of doubts which were raised that it's a loss-making company, huge losses. But within 5 quarters of taking over, we turned EBITDA positive. And we are now growing that business. Our FMCG business has got a good portfolio. We pioneered guilt-free snacking. It's something that didn't exist in India. Our products are healthy products. They're better for you products. They're niche products. They're value-added products. We recently launched potato chips with 40% less trans fat. And that's showing a very robust demand from the market. We've taken over Dr. Vaidya's, which is in the Ayurveda space. The last year was dedicated to getting better controls, processizing, systematizing Dr. Vaidya's. And now we will embark upon this growth, which we believe can be phenomenal. Our personal care brand, Naturally, which we just launched in 2 cities, in Delhi or NCR and Bangalore. Shampoos, conditioners, face wash, face cream. But these are all better for you products. They've all been under test for a long period of time. Over a large sample of consumers. They've been developed in laboratories, in the best laboratories in the world, and now been in the market on a test trial basis for a while. and now gone in for commercial launch, we do believe these products also hold a lot of promise. I was trying to give you a sample of what we are doing. Some examples of the initiatives we've taken. We have a strong resolve to grow profitably, to grow where more value is created for all the stakeholders in the business, to grow in a manner that's environmentally conscious, sensitive. So we're expanding in all our businesses. But we are not expanding with too much of debt, with very limited debt, largely with equity and internal accruals. We feel blessed that we have all of you with us. Many of you have been huge supports. Advice received has been invaluable. We have acted upon advice, and it has paid dividends. In every investor conference, or every time I interact with investors, I cannot but mention the role of Prashant Jain in changing our mindset. He invested in our companies when the companies were down and under. Gave us very, very good advice, which has served us in very good stead. There have been others like Prashant. And as a group of companies, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to them. Rather than keep on speaking, I would actually like to prefer to respond to queries that you all might have. Please feel free to ask any question, and I will try and respond to as many of them as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The floor will now be open for the Q&A session. You can either ask your questions directly by using the raise hand button, or you can type in your questions in the Q&A tab. Please mention your name and organization before asking your question. The Q&A session will be moderated by Mr. B.L. Chandak from Investor Relations. Request the panelists to kindly start with the Q&A session.
Dr. Goenka, is Kesav Bhatt had asked some question, so I unmute him if he is there. He doesn't seem to be there, so let me read out his question. He had sent me in advance. Today, RPSG Group is a conglomerate of many companies in different industries. How do you look at these companies in terms of synergies? Are there synergies or advantages that these companies can take from each other's core competencies? Are there plans to take these benefits in the future for all the group companies? Yeah, you can respond.
Okay. No, our companies are diverse. Entry into these companies have not been planned on the basis of synergies necessarily. But there are synergies that we can have in some companies. So all our consumer-facing businesses become a pipeline. So I think there is a scope of cross-selling, but quite honestly, it's a diversified group with different interests, with different managements, with core competencies, each one of which, and each of the companies have critical mass. Each of the companies are either number 1, 2, or 3 in the areas that they operate in. I hope that answers your question.
Keshav, are you there? If you are there, you can ask supplementary question in case you have.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, sir. Yes. No, I think that does answer my question. And I also had that idea that the RPSG group is a very successful group in different industries. But I was just wondering, if in the future, if there are any plans to, capitalize on these synergies. But I think you have answered it in a way. Yes.
Thank you, Keshav.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, next question comes from Swarnim Maheswari. So I'm unmuting him. Swarnim, you can speak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chandak. Good morning, Mr. Goenka. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Sir,
He's
Yeah,
gone
not
off.
getting your voice. So we can take next question.
Yeah, let's take the next question. We come back to him later.
Yeah. Mohit Kumar, you can ask your question.
Hi, good morning, sir, and thanks for the opportunity. Hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Sir, my first question is, how do you see the various businesses and where do you see the investment in these companies at the group level over next 3 to 5 years?
Sorry, just repeat the question. I think
My question is, how do you see the investment in all these group companies, and is there any number which you're looking to invest over the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay. So there are two things that we are doing. Each of the companies prepares its own plans for growth and expansion. By and large, we are following a model which is lighter on assets than it has been in the past. So in the power business, we are going to grow significantly in distribution. The new Electricity Act will offer significant opportunities, and we are preparing to not only consolidate, defend our position in existing operations, but to go and grow in areas which will offer themselves in the future. So there is no specific number, but what we have said is that we will not take a huge amount of debt to grow. As far as PCBL is concerned, we are embarking upon a new plant in Tamil Nadu, work on which has begun, and hopefully by the end of next year, we should have completed. We are embarking upon a new specialty project in Mundra. All these plants will be accompanied by combined cycle power plants. As far as Firstsource is concerned, we are expanding not only in revenue terms, but in competency terms. We are growing organically and inorganically. Over the last few years, we have made 3 acquisitions. Hopefully, there will be more, each one of which will be value accretive as we go along. As far as Saregama is concerned, we are expanding in terms of our share of music. In the session with Saregama, you will get a detailed presentation. So it's not only growth in Hindi film music, but it is actually going in dominating regional music. We are the only national player. Our only worthy competition in the scale sense is T-Series. They are focused on Hindi music. we are going to focus on Hindi plus regional and Tamil, Telugu, Gujarati, Marathi, Bengali, Bhojpuri, Punjabi, Haryanvi. And we are already making a dent in these markets. We will grow also by expansion of labels, by expansion of content. In our FMCG business, each of our portfolios will grow significantly. So the snacks, so far it is Western guilt-free snacks. Now we will get very soon into Indian ethnic snacks. We've launched our personal care range. You will see a very aggressive push in the Ayurveda space through Dr. Vaidyas. In Spencer's, we are growing. We're growing by addition of space, by stores, by products. But all this growth is coming with we do not believe in growth by debt. So each of the companies has a huge growth plan. And the actual numbers will eventually depend upon the inorganic opportunities that come and present itself. So organic plus inorganic will be the way to go.
My second question is, congratulations on winning the Lucknow IPL franchisee, but the concern in the minds have arisen that how do you fund the capital requirements by acquiring the Lucknow IPL franchisee? If you can address this question, it will be very, very useful for us.
Okay. And this question, strangely or not so strangely, has been asked to me several times. It's a very simple arithmetic. And let me try and explain this. In some amount of detail, even at the cost of being either repetitive or boring some of you. We have to pay approximately 700 crores to the BCCI every year. From year 2, we anticipate that we will get a minimum of 400 crores from BCCI by way of broadcast, sponsorship, this, that, and the other rights. So on a net basis, we will be paying about 300 crores to the BCCI. The operations we had anticipated earlier will have a deficit of about 40 to 45 crores. But as it appears, without a single player having been signed, it appears that our front of jersey will go at the highest rate that any front of jersey has gone. We are not at liberty yet to disclose more till we have signed the agreement. We cannot sign the agreement till our actual franchise is signed, which hopefully will be signed in the next 24 hours. Then we sign this agreement and then we will announce it. So what we had anticipated in terms of revenues from sponsorship appear to be significantly higher than our estimate at the time of bidding. Secondly, our estimate from tickets, which we had conservatively estimated when we were bidding, now appears to be again higher. I mean, even though there is no match till April, but from our discussions that we are having with booking agents, the minimum guarantee amounts seem to be high. So that loss will be minimal. So year 1, there will be a 500 crore outflow of equity. Year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will be roughly a 300 to 320 crore outflow. Now, my own estimate is that year 7 onwards, there will actually be no deficit or no cash flow required. But even if it is, the worst case scenario is about 150 crores. So you're looking at 150 crores for 4 years, which is 600 crores. 300 crores for 5 years, which is 1500 crores. That's 21. And 500 crores for year 1, which is 2600 crores. That's the total outflow. Now that is the equity outflow into this venture. We are not going to use any of our listed principal companies. So there will be no funding from CSC, Saregama, PCBL, Firstsource, whatsoever. This will be a joint venture between RPSG Ventures and my family office. RPSG Ventures outflow will be confined to no more than 200 crores a year. The shareholding will be roughly half and half. And if required, we will actually put in money into RPSG Ventures by way of whatever, it could be a rights, a preference, whatever, so that there is no real cash outflow from RPSG Ventures. So we will fund. So this is really going to be funded by largely by the family office. And if you ask me the rationale, I do believe this will be worth anywhere between 10,000 to 15,000 crores in a space of 5 years. So I do believe it's a good investment. 7,000 is the gross investment, but the net investment is probably 2,600, 2,700 crores. So I am actually personally quite bullish on this. And I do believe it will turn out to be a good investment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering my question and wish you all the luck. Thank you.
Yeah, next question is from Harsh Dole of India Infoline. So let me ask him to ask question.
Thank you, Chandak ji. Dr. Goenka, greetings. And greatly appreciate this interaction. I think such sessions will only go a long way to improve awareness in the achievements of the group. During your initial remarks, you touched upon 2 key initiatives, which is or issues. First is sustainability, and the other was actually convergence. If you can just elaborate, what is there in your mind, and how do you intend to leverage upon these 2 key issues for pursuing growth opportunities? Thank you.
So your question was, you had 2 parts. One is sustainability, the other was conversion.
Convergence. Power of convergence.
Convergence, sorry. Okay. You know, sustainability to my mind is 2 things. One is the environment. And for that, we've been taking very strong actions and initiatives. So even in power, and our ESG rating has been upgraded from B to BB. We are not going to expand in fossil fuel thermal stations. That's very clear. We are going to try and convert all our existing vehicles into electric vehicles. We are going to have much stronger governance than we've had. We are going to, so in PCBL, we are trying very hard to shift from commodity to value added and specialty. Our old plants, we've invested significantly. in equipment which control emissions. Our new plants are going to be virtually net emission free. So there is a lot of activity that's going on, a lot of initiatives. We would actually invite each one of you to visit any of the, for example, the PCBL factories, and we would insist you all go in white shirts, because the true test will be if you all walk out of a factory visit without a speck of black in that white shirt. That's the kind of pride we take in our environment conscious initiatives. And this is true for, I mean, these are some illustrated examples, but this is true across the companies. The second part of sustainability, to my mind, is competitiveness. It's efficiency. Its ability to add a higher margin in the same circumstances. So it's sustainability of environment of governance on one hand, and sustainability and enhancement of margins on the other hand. So we are working on both. So I'm not working on purely the conventional definition of sustainability. You talked of convergence. So if you own customers, if you have that database, it's a pipeline. You can sell anything and everything through that pipeline. So it's about how you get all your businesses to take advantage of this database. How do you get, for example, today we have 4.3 million existing consumers in our power business. We have about 1 crore consumers in our retail business. You combine this database, and could this lead the future for a super app? Or could this be the foundation for a super app? A study is on to examine this. If in IPL, so we've really worked at UP specifically, scientifically. We do believe there can be 32 districts where we've studied how many Mercedes cars or high-end cars, how many high-end watches, etc., etc., etc. So what is the purchasing power of people? So can we create fan parks in these 32 districts? For every game, can we have open air screening with 10, 15, 20, 25,000 people? Can we give QR codes to each one? Get that database, add on a bigger data, a consumer data bank, increase that. Can we sell not only music, Spencer's and Nature's Basket items, but can we actually sell other products? Can we become the channel? Can we become the pipeline? I don't have a specific answer, but I do believe it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity that we need to study in much greater detail. If the study results come out positive, then that opportunity is huge. When the Electricity Act delicenses, if you have Chandigarh, that base can actually help you get into Punjab very aggressively and very easily. Whereas other competition will wait to set up facilities. we will start at a huge advantage. Now, that's a very lucrative, rich terrain. Consumers are very, very cash rich. They're affluent. Now, so it's about how we take advantage of this opportunity that presents itself. Can we use this pipeline and this database to market our FMCG products? Sure, we can. Can we use this to sell other products which we are not involved with? Possibly we can. So yes, the convergence opportunities are significant, but they are in the process of being defined and given shape to by professional expert agencies.
That's very helpful. Thank you, sir. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Ash.
Our next question is from Apurva Bahadur from Investec. Apurva, you can start talking. Doesn't seem to be there. So we invite Rajesh Agarwal from OM to ask.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, this is Rajesh Agarwal from Home Capital, Kolkata. First, let me thank you for this conference. I think this is a very good initiative from our own city, Calcutta. Very few corporates are planning in this way, and it will give great insights about the group. Sir, I have a small question on Spencer's. If I'm not wrong, we have around 190 stores at present, on maybe one or two here and there. So what are the plans for growth? Are we going for some large format stores or some kind of acquisition for a growth plans? Maybe on an omni-channel way, that's online or something like that. And the second part is like a lot of the other players are trying to tie up with Kirana stores as such. So are we thinking something on that line? And in recent news, as you must have seen that Reliance has taken over stake in Ritu Kumar, Manish Malhotra, Amante. So are we also trying to get into some private levels for our expansion?
Okay. I think a far more detailed answer can be given to you by Shashwat and Devendra Chawla, but let me tell you from where I sit. For us, it's a strong leadership footprint over our chosen clusters. So instead of growing all over the place, we are growing in our chosen clusters. So it is coastal Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bengal, and the format defined by McKinsey when they did the study a few years ago was that the hypermarket, the large format business, will be the best format to grow. So 2/3 of our business, as it stands, is in that format. And our store economics are the best in class in hypers. Now with the acquisition of Nature's Basket, we are seeing that even the smaller format stores and with the changing dynamics of the Indian ecosystem, the smaller format stores could also provide a good vehicle for growth in our chosen clusters, one. Two is the online retail can also be a very interesting format for growth. And we have grown significantly in that over the last 1 year. But we do not believe in growth which is at negative margins. So we try and have profitable growth. So getting top lines up is an easier part. Getting bottom lines up is the more difficult part. So right now we are focusing on top line in conjunction with the bottom line. So that's where we are. And it is, you will see growth, you will see significant growth, but it will not be growth at the cost of the bottom line.
Right, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Our next question is from Hers Deoskar. We unmute him. Yeah, Hers, are you there? Okay, we take next one. Varni Vijay Kumar from Chennai.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, but your voice is echoing a bit. If you can be a little louder, please.
Right. Okay. So the question is regarding our vision on the renewables capacity addition. Any specific reason why we are not going into renewable capacity addition like other power utilities have had decades plus of experience in this space?
I'm sorry, I can't follow what you're saying. There's too much of echo. Mr. Chanda, can you follow what he's saying? If you can, then you can.
There are a lot of echo.
Is it better now?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay, no, what I was trying to question you was on our renewables capacity addition plan, where we don't seem to have too much of vision there, unlike our peers who have been in this space for like more than 2 decades, like us, charting big plans in that space. So any specific reasons there? We have also recently sold a few renewable assets to Torrent Group. So color on the thinking process there would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. It's a very simple Banya thinking process. If you look at the wind projects and solar projects as they stand, I do believe in 2 years or 3 years, these assets will not be viable because the tariffs at which you have PPAs will become far too expensive. You have one instance of PPAs being renegotiated. It's a question of time before you will have others. Technology is changing very fast and costs are going down. So it's not only about generating, it's about, to my mind, generating profitably and collecting. So it's not about actually selling to a DISCOM and not getting paid. To my mind, you have to sell and collect. And a sale is only complete when you have collected. So yes, if I were to look at an independent listing and valuations, for the moment, I should have a large capacity. But in 2 years or 3 years, when they start making losses, when there are bad debts, when there are large outstandings, all of you will come and say, this company is not performing well. And then there will be a huge amount of research reports on which say that this is a bad strategy. So investing in renewables is good, but investing in renewables the way it is structured today, I'm not sure. I'm not convinced that it's a great strategy. Several years ago, I had, this is about, I don't remember now exactly, it's 14, 15, 16 years ago. And Ultra Mega was the flavor of the season. And every power producer was going in for Ultra Mega. And I was in Mumbai addressing a CII conference for investors. It was not an RPSG conference or an RPG conference. It was a CII conference. And several people asked me this question, that Reliance, Tata's, X, Y, Z, everybody is going in for Ultra Mega. Reliance has taken, as an ADAG, has taken 3 Ultra Megas. And why isn't CSE looking at it? I said, to my mind, it's a model which is doomed to failure. And I was in a minority of one. I was lammed by the then ministry for saying this. I was lammed by the investors for saying this. But I was convinced of what I was saying. And I'm convinced of what I'm saying today. I will not invest in assets which give me temporary valuation. When I talk of sustainability, I talk of sustainability of growth, of bottom lines, of not only the environment, but also valuations. So I do not believe, and I again may be in a huge minority here. It is the flavor of the season, but the way it is structured today, I do not believe it is going to be profitable, leave alone the long term, not even in the medium term.
That's very interesting, and appreciate your vision. And hopefully, for the space and the country, hopefully the model works this time around. But I appreciate your concerns and the challenges that exist. So hope to talk to you soon, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no more questions, but some people keep asking, when do we propose to list FMCG business separately? So you can answer this and then give your final message to all the investors, and we close.
Very simple. FMCG business at this point in time will continue to incur losses for the next few years because of the nature of the business. But I don't believe the losses will be there for too long. We have to invest in building the brand, in building the distribution channel, and in building capacity for the products that we are there. So the moment we start breaking even, that is the time I would like to list. I hope it's not too far away, but I don't see it happening in the next year or two, quite honestly.
Thank you, Dr. Goenka. Any final message to investors?
Well, the message is very simple. It's a message of gratitude. It's a message of appreciation of being with us over the last several years, which have been difficult for us. But now, I do believe we are embarking upon what should hopefully be a much better phase for us than it has been. And now, hopefully, you will get much greater returns for being with us. I mean, I don't think I shared the consolidated numbers for the first 6 months for the group. And I think I'd just like to do that before I part. The revenues for the consolidated group for H1 22 was 13,304 crores compared to 10,770 crores in the same period last year. So this is a fairly significant growth in revenues. EBITDAs were 2,535 crores compared to 1,964 crores for the same period last year. And PAT was 1,002 crores compared to 717 crores for the same period last year. So it's a fairly robust growth despite all the challenges. Hopefully, this paves an even stronger foundation for even stronger growth in the future. Thank you very much for believing in us. We hope to keep delivering on what we commit. All the very best. Stay safe.
Thank you. Over to Dolly.
Thank you, sir. That wraps up the Q&A session. Thank you, audience, for your questions. And thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Goenka and Mr. B.L. Chandak for a very interesting and insightful session. The next session will begin at 11 a.m. You can attend the other sessions from the microsite via the live sessions tab. Thank you.
RP Sanjeev Goenka Group is a diversified conglomerate operating in sectors like power and natural resources, carbon black, IT, education, retail, FMCG, media, entertainment, infrastructure and sports. It has 45,000 employees and more than 5 lakh shareholders. Group assets have grown to 48,500 crore rupees